There are houses that seem burdened, environments where the air sweetens, where prosperity does not enter, where everything breaks, where nothing flows, and often those who live there blame bad luck, circumstances, life, without realizing that, according to Jewish wisdom, the blockage may be hidden in small details, small objects, small presences that intoxicate the environment without anyone noticing. The ancient masters of the Talmud and Kabbalah always taught that a house is not just a physical space, it is a living organism that absorbs everything, emotions, words, attitudes, and yes, objects. They said, "The house that harbors darkness spreads darkness. The house that harbors light attracts light." And you will realize throughout this video how true that is. There are three specific objects, three simple, common, almost invisible elements that, according to traditional and symbolic interpretations found in Jewish texts and Kabbalistic teachings, can represent spiritual disorganization, stagnation, mental confusion, and even loss of livelihood. Not because they have inherent power, but because they carry energetic meanings that, when ignored, turn the house into a kind of heavy magnet instead of a blessing field. To understand this, imagine the following scene. You enter a person's house and notice that, despite everything seeming normal, there is something strange there, a silence that weighs heavily, and discomfort that you can't explain, an unease that doesn't come from a specific place but seems to come from everyone at once. The Kabbalists called this ruach ra'ah, the poor energetic quality accumulated in neglected environments, and they said that certain objects serve as anchors that trap this energy, preventing the light from circulating, hindering sustenance from prospering, and stopping life from progressing. Therefore, the wise taught their students to inspect the house from time to time, not just to clean dust, but to cleanse energy, to look carefully to see if there is anything there that should not be. And the most impressive thing is that many of these objects are common, almost trivial, but carry deep symbolism related to memories, vibrations, frequencies, and most importantly, how the human mind relates to the space around it. Today you will discover what these three objects are, and more importantly, you will understand why they affect your prosperity, your peace, your emotions, and even your sleep so much. Get ready, because this is one of the oldest and quietest teachings of the Jewish tradition. But before revealing the first object, the one that the masters called the silent thief of prosperity, it is necessary to understand something that wise people have been repeating for centuries. The home is a mirror of the soul. If there is imbalance outside, there is imbalance inside. And perhaps you have never noticed, but there are signs that begin to appear when the energy of the house is being drained. Small, almost invisible things, but that repeat themselves as a spiritual warning. You start losing objects without knowing where you place them. Feelings of deep fatigue begin to accompany you. Arguments arise without reason. Money comes in but disappears like water between your fingers, and you feel an exhaustion that has no logical explanation. It's not an exaggeration, it's not superstition, it's energy, something that Jews have studied for thousands of years to understand how to protect environments and keep prosperity circulating. Before we continue, I need to give you a warning. What you are about to discover is only the surface. There is a greater secret. The true reason why Jews, even facing persecutions, wars, expulsions, injustices, and exile, have always rebuilt and prospered again. It's not magic. It's not privilege. It's a spiritual principle so powerful that, when applied correctly, it transforms generations. This secret is in the video pinned in the first comment, but you will only see it after finishing this one. Because without the foundation, the revelation will not make sense. Now take a deep breath, because we are about to reveal the three objects. The first one is so simple that many people laugh when they hear it, until they realize how it drains prosperity. The wise called it a dead object, not because it was physically broken, but because it lost its purpose. For Jewish masters, everything that exists serves two functions, to serve or to connect. If it doesn't serve and doesn't connect, it becomes an anchor. The first object is broken things kept inside the house. It may seem trivial, but for the Kabbalists, nothing was symbolically more dangerous than keeping cracked, chipped, fractured, or unusable objects. The Talmud compares a crack to a spiritual breach, the place where blessing energy escapes. Kabbalah expands. Everything that is broken keeps alive the vibration of absence, failure, and interruption. When you keep something broken, even unintentionally, you energetically communicate to the universe. I accept the minimal. I tolerate the incomplete. And this message spreads to invisible channels, relationships, finances, self-confidence. The masters said, if you desire prosperity, remove the broken to make space for the whole. Now imagine your house as a glass. If it is filled with symbolic clutter, there is no space for the new to enter. Flow depends on movement. Broken objects are symbols of stagnation. Maybe you remembered a drawer full of things you never fix, a cracked mug you use just to not throw away, a sentimental object chipped with pity, an appliance that's been out of use and will be fixed someday, but never is. That someday costs a lot. According to Kabbalists, each broken object acts like a hole through which blessing energy escapes. In the next segment, you will discover the second object, even more dangerous. It represents not just breakage, but traumatic memories stored in space, capable of affecting mood, vitality, and emotional destiny. And this is where everything begins to become even deeper. The second object is, without a doubt, one of the most dangerous according to Jewish wisdom, not because of its shape, but because of what it carries, not by the material, but by the memory, not by the object itself, but by the history it keeps trapped inside the space, breathing alongside those who live there. The Kabbalists called it the object of dead memory, and said that few elements have as much capacity to imprison the soul as it does. This second object is things that belong to people who hurt you, wounded you, abused you, betrayed you, or left emotional scars. It can be something simple. An old letter, a forgotten t-shirt, a memory of a toxic relationship, a gift from someone who emotionally destroyed you, an inherited object from someone who did not wish you well, a photograph that brings pain, a symbol that awakens sadness. Often it is kept at the back of a drawer. Sometimes it is exposed in the living room. Wherever it is attached to you. According to Kabbalah masters, these objects are invisible anchors. They create a phenomenon called residuo durach, an impregnated emotional vibration that remains in the environment. Even decades later, the rabbis said, objects carry stories, stories carry energy, energy shapes destinies. And when you keep something in your house that represents pain, hurt, rejection, failure, abandonment, humiliation, or a version of yourself that has already died, you are reopening spiritual wounds every day. It is like waking up and facing a mirror that reflects a past that should be buried but continues to live there with you. These objects create direct consequences. 1. Emotional blockage. You repeat patterns, revive pains, revive relationships that should have ended. 2. Mental blockage. The mind gets stuck in a loop. Ideas become confused. Clarity disappears. 3. Financial blockage. Prosperity requires inner space, and old pain occupies that space like a huge stone in the center of the soul. The rabbis were firm. If something from the past continues to live with you, the future has nowhere to enter. Imagine a house where every corner holds an echo of suffering. The toast of someone who humiliated you. The memory of a love that destroyed you. A photo from a time that hurt you. A box with letters you're afraid to read and afraid to throw away. Each of these objects reopens emotional doors. And emotional doors, when opened in the wrong place, drain vital energy. Perhaps at this moment while you are listening to me, you have remembered something. Something stored for years. Something seemingly harmless, but that energetically binds you to a story that no longer belongs to you. If you felt a cold in your stomach, a shiver, a sudden memory, that is your soul recognizing what is holding you back. And when you remove these objects, something extraordinary happens. The world changes. The environment changes. Your mind changes. Emotions breathe. And then, for the first time in a long time, you feel internal space for the new. But there is still a third object, and this is considered the most dangerous of all, the most treacherous, the most capable of blocking absolutely everything: prosperity, relationships, emotional peace, opportunities, and even spiritual protection. The Kabbalists called it klipa gum, the broken vessel. Not broken physically only, but broken spiritually, a symbol of interruption, failure, and disorder. And here is the final revelation. The third object that brings misery into the house is anything that is broken, cracked, chipped, damaged, or unused, and that you keep out of habit, attachment, or neglect. It could be a cracked glass, a chipped mug, a broken mirror, a stopped clock, a cracked picture frame, a limping chair, a dead appliance. A broken symbol, a decorative object that has already lost its life, a damaged piece of furniture you promised to fix, a box full of things I might fix someday. All of this represents the same energy pattern. I accept the incomplete. And when you accept the incomplete inside the house without realizing it, you begin to accept the incomplete within yourself. The subconscious absorbs this message with incredible force. Objects speak silently, but they speak. You tolerate less. You do not prioritize yourself. You live with what doesn't work. You accept what is dead. The rabbis explained that broken objects carry the vibration of interruption, and everything that is interrupted blocks the flow. It's like a river with cracked stones that redirect the water and weaken its force. That's how energy works inside the house. In Jewish tradition, a broken cup is never used. A cracked mirror is never kept. A damaged object is never kept waiting for the right day to be fixed. Because these objects act like cracks in the spiritual container. And nothing that is cracked can hold the light. Kabbalah says, where there is a crack, the light escapes. And this applies to both the physical and spiritual worlds. The house speaks. The environment speaks. Objects tell a story. And the story that the broken one tells is always the same. Lack. Maybe now you've remembered something you see every day but ignore a broken object that has become part of the landscape. Something you always think, one day I'll fix it, but never do. Know this, that one day is costing you dearly, not in money, but in energy, in clarity, in strength, in prosperity. Because according to Kabbalah, the house is a reflection of the soul, and the soul is a reflection of the house. Now that you know the three objects that block prosperity, dead things, painful past things, and broken things, we need to delve into the deepest part. What happens when these three appear together inside a home? And it is here that the energy truly collapses. The wise said that when these three elements coexist, they create a counter-energy field called Makom Nifrad. The separated place, a place where light does not enter as it should. A place where spiritual flow disconnects from abundance. A place where the energy of the house turns against the owner. And this phenomenon begins to affect everything. Mood, sleep, courage, mental clarity, finances, opportunities, relationships, spiritual protection. It's as if the house transforms into fertile ground for repetition and stagnation. And the worst part is that the person gets used to it. They normalize chaos, they adapt to stagnation, they lose spiritual sensitivity. She thinks her life is like this, but it's not. In the next chapter, you will understand how these three objects create the most destructive blockage to prosperity and how to clear it quickly using the wisdom of Kabbalah. Now that you understand the depth of the three forbidden objects and how they create the Makom Nifrad field, the place where light does not enter, it's time to understand the most transformative point of Jewish wisdom. The ancient rabbis always taught, prosperity does not settle where the house is not prepared. And this is where the restoration of the home begins. There is a central principle called Tikkun Rabbaiti, the energetic restoration of the house. It is the process by which the home ceases to be a charged environment and begins to become a vessel of divine light, and this has nothing to do with limited religiosity. It's about intention, awareness, and action. For the masters, everything begins with a simple understanding. The house and the owner communicate with each other. If the house is full of broken things, it is because within you there are unhealed fragments. If the house holds objects of pain, it is because your soul still keeps frozen memories. If the house is stuck in the past, it is because you are too. And when you physically change the home, the soul responds spiritually. External change becomes internal change. That's why rabbis used to say, if you want to change your life, first change your home. And Tikkun Rabbaiti works exactly like that. You clean the house, and the house cleans you. It's an exchange, a mirror, a realignment. Imagine a house after the 3 forbidden objects have been removed. A lighter air, an energy that flows, an inexplicable sense of clarity. This is not imagination. It's real vibration. It's energy being reorganized. It's the internal container being rebuilt. And when the internal container is rebuilt, life begins to move. Now, we need to go even deeper. There are specific points in the house where energy gets blocked more strongly. These places have been observed for centuries by the masters of Kabbalah, and it is no coincidence that it is precisely at these points that forbidden objects tend to hide. These places are called charot, portals. Portals through which energy enters, circulates, and organizes within the home. And when a portal is contaminated, the entire flow of the house suffers, no matter how much you clean the rest. The 3 portals are always the same: the front door, the bedroom, the kitchen. The front door is the portal of prosperity. It is where the external world meets the internal. If there is mess, dirt, broken objects, accumulated shoes, bad memories, or a loaded symbol there, abundance stops even before entering. It's like a blessing knocking on the door and no one opening. The bedroom is the portal of the soul. It is where your emotional energy rests during the night. If the room is filled with objects from past relationships, old photos, clothes from a version of yourself that no longer exists, hidden, broken things, dead memories, the soul sleeps heavily and wakes broken. The next day does not flow because the soul has not had true rest. The kitchen is the portal of vitality. It is where food turns into energy. It is the material and spiritual heart of the house. Broken dishes, stagnant utensils, objects of pain mixed with food, symbols of scarcity, all of this blends with sustenance and creates a direct blockage to material abundance. That is why the rabbis used to say, "Show me your door, your room, and your kitchen, and I will tell you where your life is stuck." Now that you understand the portals, the time has come for the ritual that restores the energy of these places. A ritual that is simple, but so profound that it was only taught to advanced students in ancient Jewish villages. The ritual is called Hatnazat Or, the entrance of light. He always starts with removal, never with superficial cleaning, never with hurried organization. First, he removes what is blocking. The 3 prohibited objects are eliminated one by one, always starting with the small ones. A small object can unblock the flow of an entire house because small objects hide dense energies that go unnoticed. Then comes the opening of the portals. Open the front door for a few minutes. Let the air in. Open windows. Open curtains. Let natural light touch places that have been still. For the Jews, this moment symbolizes, "I allow abundance to enter." And meanwhile, many murmur an ancient phrase, Yehi Or. Let there be light, then comes movement. Negative energy lives in stagnation. It loves still objects, unchanging drawers, furniture that hasn't moved in years. That's why moving something, a piece of furniture, a curtain, a rug, a misplaced object, sends a spiritual signal to the universe. I am changing. And when the physical moves, the spiritual also moves. But then comes the deeper step of the ritual, the final intention, called kavanah. It is at this moment that you silently or softly declare, I remove what no longer serves me, I create space for light. I allow prosperity to enter. This is the moment when the home and the owner align. It is the point where the space understands where it should vibrate. But there is a 5th step, the most secret, the most guarded, the one that truly transforms the house, the installation of light, called Hashrat Haor. According to Kabbalah, after the house is cleaned, it is left with an energetic void, and this void never remains neutral. It either attracts light or shadow. That's why it is necessary to install a living symbol of light. Choose a spot in the house, a shelf, a special corner, a table, a bedside table, a place where light hits. At this point, place a single object that represents life, integrity, and the future. A plant, an extinguished candle, a crystal, a glass of fresh water, a book that inspires you, an object you love. This object becomes the new energetic standard of the house. It's as if you are telling the universe, "This is what I allow from now on." The house reorganizes its energy around this light. The shadow dissolves. The vibration rises. The flow begins again. But there is one last secret. The energy of the house needs to be nourished daily. And this is not done with incense, coarse salt, or superstitions. It is done with you. According to Kabbalah, the house absorbs your first thought upon waking. If you wake up heavy, the house feels heavy. If you wake up anxious, the house closes in. But if you wake up with intention, the house vibrates with intention. That is why there is the ritual of the small morning intention. Upon waking, before any worries, mentally say, "Today I choose which energy I bring to my home," and complete it with the energy you desire: peace, order, clarity, prosperity, protection, vitality, gratitude. This gesture creates what the rabbis call the daily energy cycle. The house absorbs and replicates this vibration for hours. Day after day, the house learns to vibrate high, and when the house vibrates high, life vibrates along. Finally, there is the final sealing, the simplest and most powerful gesture. Before sleeping or before leaving the house, place your right hand on any wall and say, "May this house be a place of light, order, and abundance." This is the energetic closing of the day. It is the seal that prevents the return of old energy. It is the last link of Tikkun Rabbaiti. It is the moment when the home ceases to be just a physical space and becomes an active field of prosperity. From here on, your house will not just be the place where you live. It will be the place where your prosperity begins.